I don't know what's going on with my stream right now. Like, I can't get my camera to work, so we're gonna do this in black and black. Okay? I'm going to my YouTube now to check it to see what's going on. I see it live, so let's see. I don't know what's going on with my stream right now. Like, I can't get my camera to work, so we're gonna do this in black and black. Okay? Okay, well, either way, I'm live. So, and I figured out how to do it all on my laptop, so I'm happy about that. Sorry about the lack of video, though. And we're gonna test this out and see how loud this is. I don't know why I did that. That's not supposed to be like that. I don't know how to get my video to work. I don't. Like. Okay. Well, anyway. Okay, so welcome to my live stream. Let's get creepy. Okay, so me and my friend Zombie Queen Jazzy, she actually has a YouTube channel. We started a podcast today called The Twisted Rabbit Hole. As you can tell, because my name is Twisted Rabbit. So I don't interfere with her podcast, with our podcast. I wanted to do some YouTube videos too. Once I get the camera thing figured out, we'll get that fixed. But right now, I don't know what to do with it because it's not working. I'll get that figured out later. So this video is going to be black. I'm sorry, guys. I am so sorry. While I'm sitting here talking to you, I'm also going to try and figure it out. Music stopped. That's creepy. Why did you stop? Okay, we're just gonna back up out of here. We're gonna go maybe here. Let's see if this works. Sorry for the ad. We're just gonna listen to an ad while I figure this out. But in our creepy little podcast, we're gonna have some funny things and we're gonna have some creepy things. Our first one is getting to know us. I've had more paranormal experiences than my best friend / sister. So a lot of it is me talking about my paranormal experiences and what happened with me. Some of it's her sleep paralysis. But yeah, we're going to talk about serial killers and the SCPs and urban legends, and we're going to explore abandoned buildings, which I will be posting some videos on here when we're not recording the podcast. I'm going to get a second camcorder or camera, whatever, another phone, whatever. Either way, I'm going to be recording the videos to post onto here. So that way you guys can see it and our podcast can also get to hear it and stuff like that. Just to enjoy the creepiness that we love and we find so relaxing. So here is my first live stream. I don't expect to get a lot of viewers. I don't expect to get a lot of likes. I am doing this because it's what makes me happy and I love doing it. I love diving into that deep, dark hole. And with that being said, let's dive into that deep, dark hole. So, next week on our podcast, we will be talking about Jack the Ripper. So here we are going to talk about lesser known serial killers. And the first one we are going to do is, well, we're not just doing serial killers, we are doing a whole bunch of stuff today. And right now we are starting with, give me a second, as soon as I can figure this out. We are going to do the alphabetic killer. As soon as I can get it. Okay, so, like I said, we're going to be talking about some creepy things. And we're going to start off with a lesser known serial killer. And it looks like his crimes were from November 16th, 1971 to November 26th, 1973. So he had about a 2 to 3 year killing spree. It says that the alphabet murders are an unsolved series of child murders which occurred between, of course, 1971 and 1973 in Rochester, New York. All three victims of the alphabet killer were girls aged 10 or 11 whose surname began with the same alphabet or with the same letter as that of her first name. So from what I'm taking it is, also called the double initial murders. Okay. So basically he killed people with the same first letter of the last name and the first name. He looks pretty creepy. I wish I could show you guys. Now, it says here that each victim had been sexually assaulted and murdered by either manual or ligature strangulation before her body was desecrated in or near a town or village also beginning with the same letter as her initial. That kind of disturbs me because, like, you never know when these people are gonna come back. Like, it might not be the same person, but you never know. Like, if you've ever seen the movie Copycat, there are people out there that are willing to copy these serial killers. Like, they're willing to. They have an infatuation with these people, with these monstrous abomination of a human being. And some like to copy like Ted Bundy or Jeffrey Dahmer or John Wayne Gacy or Charles Manson. But there are those people that go for the littler serial killers, the more unknown ones. So it says the murders were committed by this unidentified serial killer, became known as the alphabet murders and the double initial murders, due to the fact of each of the victims' first and last names begin with the same letter. Furthermore, each body was found in a town or village with a name beginning with the same letter as the victim's initials. So, with that being said, I find that very disturbing because just first off, you had to have done a lot of research and a lot of stalking to be able to find these people, these kids with these names, and like just it's scary. It really is, because you don't know what's going on. You don't know if you could be the next one. And yes, the murders happened in the 70s, but you don't know if your kid's safe anymore. You don't know if, he could come back for them, or like if his kids, if he had any or anything like that. You don't know these things. And because you don't know these things, it's scary. And it's just like people with the Zodiac Killer, or people with like, it's just there are copycats out there, guys. There are. People will copy fucking, like I said, next week we're doing Jack the Rippers, and people could copy Jack. They really could. It doesn't matter what can happen. It's the fact of what if. What if the Alphabet Killer came back? What if the Son of Sam came back? What if, there's always that what if. We are never safe. There are serial killers out there right now. Serial killers should be watching this stream. I will not deny that I have an infatuation with serial killers. My sister has an infatuation with serial killers. She had an whole entire book on them one time. My friends are infatuated with serial killers. We are infatuated with the dark, the macabre, the morbid, the twisted, the bloody. We are a group of very, very strange people. And it doesn't help that these serial killers just keep coming out of nowhere. And like I said, there's not a lot to be worried about because he's in jail, he's dead, whatever. I don't know yet. I haven't gotten into the full thing yet because we're going to go into it slowly. It's just all of these things. Right now, I am trying to get the images for you guys to see his victims, for you guys to see the faces of the 3 little girls he killed. And, I don't know if I'm going to do that or if I'm just going to post something just to cover up the screen so that way you guys aren't staring at black. Because, while I'm talking about that, I'm also trying to do this for you guys too, so you have something to stare at least. Something. And it's really pissing me off. I'm sorry for the cussing. This isn't for children, though. I think I need to change that in the settings. I just haven't. But, this isn't something for kids. It's not. No kid should ever have to go through this. No kid should ever have to know what a serial killer is. But I'm glad I learned when I was younger. Because if I wouldn't have learned about all this, I wouldn't be prepared for the things that could be coming my way. Whatever you want to say. I am prepared. I know what to watch for. And it's sad that we have to prepare our kids nowadays to have to watch for that. To have to watch for the creepy guy standing around the corner. Or the guy that, you don't know if this could happen or this could happen. It's a very scary day and age anymore. And back then, there wasn't a lot to worry about. There were serial killers. There were. But around the Manson time, if you watch Annabelle and stuff, they're right. You didn't have to worry about locking your door until all that stuff happened. And it's sad that now we have to lock our doors. We can't trust anybody we come in contact with. We have to question everybody's motives because everybody is so well hidden. You know what I mean? You could be standing next to a psycho and not know it. And that's scary. That really is, because, like I said, there's just some things that you don't think could ever happen. And they do. And it's not okay. It's really not. Because, you don't know who's safe. You don't know what could be happening in your own backyard, per se. And it can get bad. So, we're going to his first victim. His first victim was Carmen Colon? I don't know how to pronounce her last name. It says at 4:20 p.m. on November 16th, 1971, a 10-year-old Puerto Rican child named Carmen Colon disappeared while returning home from an errand in Rochester, New York. According to eyewitnesses, Carmen entered the pharmacy her grandmother had instructed her to visit on West Main Street, but left the store upon learning the prescription she had been instructed to collect had not been processed. Informing the store owner, Jack Corbin, I gotta go, she was then observed entering a car parked close to the pharmacy. Carmen was reported missing to the Rochester Police Department at 7:50 p.m. Approximately 15 minutes after Carmen exited the pharmacy store, scores of motorists driving along Interstate 490 observed the child naked from the waist down, running from a reversing vehicle believed to be a dark-colored Ford Pinto hatchback. Frantically waving her arms and shouting in attempts to flag down a passing vehicle, at least one of the witnesses observed Carmen being submissively led back to this vehicle by her abductor. 2 days later, 2 teenage boys discovered Carmen's partially nude body in a gully not far from Interstate 490 and close to the village of Churchville. This location was approximately 12 miles from where Carmen had last been seen alive. Her coat was discovered in a culvert some 300 feet from her body. Her trousers were only discovered on November 30th, close to the service road near where numerous motorists had observed her attempting to escape her abductor. That is one thing that has always pissed me off. If you see a child running, you see a child clearly in distress, and you don't stop to help, that makes you a horrible person. Because you should always check to see if that poor child is okay. You should always make sure that that child is with somebody safe. And not just let them just go on about your business. Oh, they'll be okay. No, because shit like this fucking happens. Shit like kids coming up missing and they're being found dead fucking happens. And nobody cares because they were too busy with this and they're too busy with that. No, if I see a fucking kid running around half naked, looking distressed, I'm going to go and fucking save them. I'm not going to fucking just drive by like it's none of my fucking business. Now, it says an autopsy revealed that in addition to having been raped, the child had suffered a fracture to her skull and one of her vertebrae before she had been manually strangled to death. Furthermore, her body had been extensively scratched by fingernails. I'm glad this sick fuck is in jail. I'm assuming he's in jail because, the pictures prove it says he's in jail, so he's in jail or dead. Either way, he fucking deserves it because you shouldn't do that to a fucking child. Now, it says both the murder of Carmen and the fact no individual who had observed the child attempting to flee from her abductor alongside Interstate 490 had attempted to offer her any assistance generated intense public outrage. And my statement from earlier stands. Two New York newspapers, the Time Union and the Democratic and Chronicle, initially offered a combined reward of $2,500 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of her murderer, and all information each publication received was relayed to police. Numerous local businesses and residents added private donations to the reward fund, gradually summing up to $600,000. Or to $600. $6,000, sorry. Although police interrogated several suspects in the months following Carmen's murder, all were cleared of involvement, and by December 21st, the number of investigators assigned to the case on a full-time basis was decreased to 3. In early 1972, 5 large billboards, each measuring 30 feet by 12 feet, were erected alongside major Rochester expressways. Each bore 8 feet, 2.4 meters. High picture of the child alongside the headline, "Do you know who killed Carmen Corleone?" Free use of these billboards were given for 1 month by the Rochester Outdoor Advertising Company. Each offered a $6,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of Carmen's murderer or murderers. In addition to displaying the telephone hotline number, a postal address, each established the previous November to encourage the police to submit anonymous information, although this tactic generated several new leads, all failed to bear fruition. I have no words for it. I have no words for how people are just... Sometimes humanity disgusts me. It really does. Like, how could you let that poor innocent child just run around and die? How? How could you just do that to them? It makes no sense. I almost want to cry just because some people are just fucking monsters. And he is one of them. He is a monster. And he deserves everything coming to him or that has come to him. He deserves to be castrated and everything else that you can possibly think of. He doesn't deserve. Humans like that don't deserve to live. They don't. And I will stick by that for the rest of my life. I feel that people that do that to a underage child deserve everything bad coming to them. They deserve every ounce of pain, every ounce of torture, because they could do that to a child. Now, we're moving on to a second murder victim. Wanda Wolowicz. 17 months later, at approximately 5 on April 2nd, 1973, 11-year-old Wanda Wolowicz disappeared from the east side of Rochester while returning home from an errand. According to the owner of the delicatessen, Wolowicz had been instructed to visit. The child had purchased the groceries she had been instructed to buy at approximately 5:15 p.m. Before she had begun walking alone down Conkey Avenue. Wanda was reported missing by her mother Joyce at 8 p.m. Police immediately launched an intense to locate Wanda. Almost 50 detectives searched several square miles of the terrain around her home, the delicatessen, and areas around the Genesee River she was known to play. These searches failed to locate the child, although several neighborhood residents recalled observing Wanda struggling to carry the bag of groceries walking just north of Avenue B. 3 classmates specifically observed Wanda bracing the bags against a fence so that she could improve her grip upon the bag as a brown vehicle drove past her. See, now the reason that I am so fired up about this is I am a mother of 2 boys. My oldest son is 8, and my youngest son is turning 7 in September. And I pray that if anybody were to ever see them in any situations like this, that they would stop and help them. Because I don't want to find out that my child was murdered, because this mama bear will go and find the person that did it, and I will make them wish they had never crossed me and hurt my children. Now, Wanda's fully clothed body was found by police officers at 10:15 a.m. the following day, discarded at the base of the hillside alongside an access road to State Route 104 in Webster, approximately 7 miles from Rochester. The position of her body indicates she had likely been thrown from a moving vehicle. She had with her body rolling down the embankment. An autopsy revealed she had been sexually assaulted, then strangled from behind with a ligature, most likely a belt. Several defense wounds indicate Wanda had fought her murderer. In addition, her body had been redressed after death. The autopsy also revealed traces of semen and pubic hair upon the child's body. Furthermore, several strands of white cat fur were found upon her clothing, although Wanda's family did not own a pet with this color of fur. See, and back then it was a lot harder for them to do DNA tests and stuff. It was a lot harder for them to find murderers and stuff off of DNA. It's not as easy as it is now. As had been the case with Carmen, investigators established an anonymous telephone hotline in addition to distributing numerous flyers throughout Rochester appealing for information. A reward of $10,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of Wanda's murderer was also established. The police inquiries produced an eyewitness who informed investigators that Wanda had walked home from the delicatessen on the evening of April 2nd. He had observed the child standing alongside the passenger door of a large brown vehicle conversing with the driver. This eyewitness was unable to obtain a clear view of the occupant of the vehicle, although the location of this sighting was just 2/10 of a mile from Wanda's home. Another individual who contacted investigators following the installation of the anonymous hotline informed investigators she had observed a man forcing a red-headed girl matching Wanda's description into a light-colored Dodge Dart on Conkey Avenue between 5:30 p.m. and 6 p.m. on the evening of her disappearance. You guys are just going to have to see black because I'm not able to be getting this up right now. But the fact is that people stepped up for this one, and I'm happy about that, but she still ended up dead. If her classmates seen her, they should have went by her, and just, it upsets me. The Rochester Police Department dismissed any suggestion of a link between the murders of Carmen and Wanda, although a sheriff's sergeant who had been assigned to investigate Carmen's murder by this stage, still an open although largely inactive case, was reassigned to the task force implemented in the investigation of the murder of Walwicks. In September 1973, a local television network, WOKR, announced plans to broadcast a televised reconstruction of Wanda's abduction and sequence recovery of her body. This 30-minute episode was broadcasted on October 21st, accompanied by public appeals for witnesses to contact authorities. Although this program resulted in the Rochester Police Department receiving over 200 calls from the public, no useful leads were gained. And that's really sad. It's really sad when anybody has to go through this. Any mother or father that has to go through the fact that their kids were abducted and murdered because they sent them to go do something. Grandparents, too. It sucks for them. It really does, because of all the stuff that they have to live with. The fact that they sent their child alone, but back then you could. You could send your children alone. They could play alone and stuff, and they didn't have to worry like they do nowadays. And the fact that we have to worry nowadays is sad and pathetic, because we shouldn't have to worry. We shouldn't have to deal with this. It's stuff like this that just, it upsets me. And it's hard to deal with as a mother of my own. I don't want to open the news one day and see that my sons have been murdered. I'm going to let you guys know this now. I do not have my kids. They are with my ex-husband's aunt and uncle. They have adopted them. They are doing good. They are having a great life. And it hurts as a mother not to have them, but that's what happens when you marry a drug addict. So, yeah. But either way, back to this. Michelle Menza. 7 months later, on the evening of November 26, 1973, 11-year-old Michelle was reported missing by her mother, Carolyn, after she failed to return home from school. Subsequent investigations were determined that Michelle was last seen by her classmates at approximately 3:20 p.m. walking home alone en route to a shopping plaza located close to her school, with the intention of retrieving a purse her mother had left inside a store within the plaza earlier that day. Approximately 10 minutes later, a witness observed Michelle sitting in the passenger seat of a beige or tan vehicle traveling at high speeds on Ackerman Street before turning onto Webster Avenue. According to this witness, the child had been weeping. At 5:30 p.m. on November 26, a motorist observed a man standing by a large beige or tan vehicle with a flat tire parked alongside Route 350 in a town of Walworth, holding a girl he strongly believed to be Michelle by the wrist. When the motorist had stopped to offer assistance, the individual had deliberately grabbed the girl and pushed her behind his back, also obscuring his license plate from the motorist's view as he stared in his direction with such a menacing expression on his face that the motorist had felt compelled to drive away. Michelle's fully clothed body was discovered at 10:30 a.m. on November 28th, lying face down in a ditch alongside a rural road in Macedon, approximately 15 miles from Rochester. Her autopsy revealed that, additional to receiving extensive blunt force trauma to her body, Michelle had been raped, then strangled to death from behind with a ligature, possibly a thin rope. Numerous strands of white cat fur were discovered upon her clothing. A leaf samples matching the foliage where her body was discovered, were recovered from within one of her clenched hands, indicating she had likely been strangled to death at or near the location where she was found. Investigators were able to retrieve a partial palm print from her neck and traces of semen upon her body and underwear. Forensics analysis of the semen samples determined she had been raped by one individual. An analysis of the contents of Michelle's stomach revealed traces of a hamburger and onions which had been consumed approximately 1 hour before her murder. Giving credence to earlier reports of a girl matching Michelle's description have been seen in the company of a Caucasian man with dark hair, aged between 25 and 35, approximately 6 feet tall, and weighing 165 pounds, both at a fast food restaurant in the town of Penfield at approximately 4:30 p.m. on the afternoon of her disappearance, and alongside Route 305 approximately an hour later. Carmen, Wanda, and Michelle's were each laid to rest in Rochester's Holy Sepulchre Cemetery. Carmen's funeral was conducted on November 22nd, 1971. Her funeral mass was attended by 200 mourners. Wanda was laid to rest on April 6, 1973. She was laid to rest with a small white and gold casket following a service officiated by the Reverend Benedict Eichmann. Michelle's funeral was held at the Corpus Christi Church on December 1st, 1973. Her open casket funeral service was attended by scores of mourners. At the conclusion of Michelle's funeral service, her father, Christopher, stated to the mourners, "She was a sweet little girl. She didn't fight much." All three child murders generated intense public outrage. Each received intense publicity. Following the murders of Michelle, investigators released a composite drawing of the individual seen with the child by numerous witnesses to the media. They also installed a telephone hotline exclusively devoted to the manhunt for the predator, whom they strongly suspected had committed all three murders. Anonymity was again offered to any caller offering anonymity was again offered to any caller offering information, and a reward was again offered for any information leading to the arrest and conviction of the predator. Although these efforts resulted in numerous calls from the public, no credible sources were located. Although investigators investigated more than 800 potential suspects in relation to the Alphabet murders, the predator or predators of the homicide were never caught, and the case remains unsolved. As each child hailed from a poor Catholic family, had few friends, and had recently experienced issues such as bullying or poor academic performances at her school, investigators have not discounted the possibility the murder may have been employed by or held knowledge of the practices of a social service agency in his efforts to initiate contact and gain trust of each victim. In 1995, the mother of Carmen made her first public statement regarding the murder of her daughter. In this interview granted to Democrat and Chronicle reporter Jack Jones, Guillermina stated that although she lived her entire life in poverty, if she could have only one thing before her own death, it would not be wealth, but knowing who murdered her daughter, adding, "If I could die knowing who killed Carmencita, I would die more peacefully than I have lived. It is the only thing I want in my life, to know that the person had to pay for the terrible things he did to my little girl. If the person who did this could have any compassion, he would see the pain and suffering these families of these little girls have gone through for all this time." The Democrat and Chronicle newspaper published a series of articles focusing upon the ongoing police investigation of the Alphabet murders in 2009, appealing for public information with view to closing the case. These articles resulted in the Rochester Police Department receiving approximately 20 new leads of inquiry. Although all leads received were pursued, none resulted in apprehension, conviction of predators. Nonetheless, a police spokesman has said the Rochester Police Department remains committed to solving the case. Okay, so he's not in jail. He's still free from what it's saying. There is a list of all of the suspects. We're not going to read their things though, but Miguel, her uncle, Carmen's uncle, was a suspect. Dennis Tremini was a suspect. He was a firefighter. He was a prophylactic serial offender known as the Garage Rapist. Kenneth Bianchi was another suspect. And Joseph Nasso was it says in 2011, a 77-year-old, okay, we're going to read Joseph's. In 2011, a 77-year-old named Joseph was arrested by Reno, Nevada for the murders of 4 women in California committed between 1977 and 1994, all of whom believed to have been prostitutes, and all of whose surname began with the same letter as that of their first name. Nasso was a New York native who lived in Rochester during the early 1970s, who is known to have regularly traveled between New York and California. Initially described by authorities as a person of interest in the Alphabet murders, DNA testing has confirmed Nasso's DNA is not a match to the semen samples recovered from the body of Wanda. Nasso has been on trial was brought on trial on June 18, 2013, charged with the murders of 4 California Alphabet murder victims, and was anonymously convicted of each murder on August 20th. On November 22, 2013, Nasso was formally sentenced to death. So the man that killed all 3 of those little girls has not been caught. But this man was at least put away and put to death for the murders of those 4 women in Las Vegas. Well, in Nevada. It's really sad because nobody knows, just like the Zodiac Killer and Jack the Ripper, nobody knows what's going to happen. Nobody knows if we'll ever find him or if he's already dead. It's really sad to see that all of these child cases are always left unsolved. Not always, but a good majority of them are left unsolved. And that's sad and it sucks. And again, as a mother, I am scared for my life, for my children's life, not for my life. I am scared for my children's life. And the fact that I can't help them and I can't do anything. Luckily, this is a small town, though. And if I notice anything, any kids, not just mine, any kids, go up to any strangers or anything, I will step in the middle of it. I will not just stand by and watch them be abducted. If I see them struggling and fighting somebody, I'm going to go up to them. I'm going to ask that little kid for their parents' phone number, and I'm going to call them and see if they know this person. I am not going to let it go. I'm also going to call the police, because either way, that is child abuse. If they're not fighting like a toddler, because I know what toddlers fight like. I know what little kids fight like. I know what it's like when they have a temper tantrum. And if it does not look like that, I will walk up and I will step in. I am not going to stand back. I am not what this generation now calls a snowflake. I am not offended by anything. And I am not afraid to confront anybody. But that is it for my stream for tonight on the Alphabet Killer. It was sad. It is sad that it is still open, and it will probably always be open, but that's part of the podcast and that's part of this channel. I will still be streaming games every once in a while, but at least every night, I'm going to try every night, if not every other night, or at least every week, I will have a video up with a new urban legend or a new unknown serial killer, or lesser known serial killer, I should say. And we will keep talking about it, and I will give my opinions. And I hope you guys enjoy this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. I don't have very many viewers now. Like I said, I don't plan to. But, maybe someday I will. Because this is a passion for me. I do work a lot. But when I have the free time for my podcast and for my YouTube channel, I will post as much as possible. So, to you creepy, macabre, twisted little beings, I hope you have a wonderful night, and I will see you in your nightmares.